Earlier tonight, I spoke to her and I started by asking her if the book was really part of Lord Ashcroft's revenge on Cameron for not being offered a top job.
Of course not, and I wouldn't have got involved in a project like that. I mean, I have my own reputation to consider. Lord Ashcroft was always very clear right from the outset of this project that the book should be objective and even-handed. And I'm really confident that when the book comes out and people see it in its entirety, people read it, I don't think any fair-minded person will be able to say it is anything other than objective.
But he does more or less say that his motivation for writing it was that he felt he'd been cheated out of a job after giving a lot of money to the Tory party.
Well, he's very upfront about the background to why his relationship with David Cameron is not as warm as it might be. And the reason for that is because it's long been known at Westminster that their relationship is a little strained, and he felt that he had to confront that head-on right at the start of the book in the preface, and we pretty much kind of get that out of the way. Lord Ashcroft doesn't then feature in the narrative of the book whatsoever.
I mean, the most damaging allegation, and Labour have taken it up tonight, saying Lord Ashcroft stated today that he made the Prime Minister fully aware of his non-domiciled status in 2009. However, in March 2010, David Cameron said the full details were known only by Lord Ashcroft and the Inland Revenue. So basically he's saying David Cameron lied.
Well, Lord Ashcroft is very clear about the sequence of events, and, you know, his recollection is what it is. He made notes at the time of the conversations that they had, and we don't use the word liar, but I think disingenuous would be a fair representation.
And do you think that this matters? I mean, obviously, as you say, personal relationships come into it. Should we be concerned? Is it a matter for Labour to take up, whether or not David Cameron knew about Lord Ashcroft's status?
Well, I mean, I think it's a serious political story. Now, the story hasn't been around for a while, but if you remember back to the run-up to the 2010 election, there was a huge furore over the state of Lord Ashcroft's tax affairs. Now, he's always quite understandably contended that that's a private matter, but the fact is that that was something that was very much in the media at the time. And what we learn from the preface to Call Me Dave is that David Cameron was not entirely straightforward about the real state of affairs.
Does that matter? I mean, after all, Prime Ministers are dealing with donors all the time, and donors tend to want something back.
Well, I think it goes to the heart of character, and after all, that's what a biography is about. You know, the job of a biographer, or biographers as we are in this case, is to look at somebody's personality and their record, the good, the bad and the ugly. And we certainly, by the way, look at the good in quite a lot of detail. But what we can't get away from is this issue of integrity in terms of that particular relationship with Lord Ashcroft at that time.
What about the more salacious stuff about his student life, drugs, and posh parties and things at Oxford? Colourful, interesting. Yeah. Does it matter to you?
Well, look, I firmly believe that political books shouldn't be too po-faced and terribly dull. Otherwise, they're only read by a very limited number of people. So what we try to do with this book is have the odd little bit of entertaining, colourful snippets of anecdotes. I don't think that we should overstate this story. It is a small anecdote, albeit one that has obviously caught people's imagination. It is one small anecdote in a book of some 200,000 words, a few hundred words out of all of that. There are plenty of other very colourful anecdotes in it.
OK, I mean, you spent, what, 2 years of your life writing this book?
A year and a half.
Year and a half, OK.
I'm fairly overdosed on Cameron,
yeah,
I think we could say.
And you say that you wanted to look at his character. What are your conclusions about his character?
Well, I think it would be unfair for me to talk about at this stage, because we're at the beginning of the serialisation with the Daily Mail. There's going to be a lot more that comes out over this week. But let's just say that I once again would like to repeat that the book is very even-handed, and I think David Cameron, when all this is blown over, might be pleasantly surprised.
I mean, there was a sort of slight sense that it was a bit of a disappointment to Lord Ashcroft that David Cameron went and won the election. And he decided to write the book, and it was really going to be where Dave went wrong. And
I think that's entirely unfair, Adam, because at the end of the day, whatever Lord Ashcroft's personal feelings are, he is a Conservative. He has long been a huge supporter of the party, having put so much energy, effort and commitment in. It would be entirely unfair to suggest that he didn't want David Cameron to win. He wanted a Tory majority. So having looked at him, studied him, is David Cameron fit to be Prime Minister? Absolutely.
So that's a thumbs up, rather.
Well,
than...
that's from me personally, absolutely. Of course he's fit to be Prime Minister.
And what do you see as his strengths?
He has a whole load of strengths, and it would take a long time to go into them, and we do go into a lot of detail about what we see as his strengths in the book, and you'll have to wait for the rest of the serialisation.
How do you feel about Downing Street say they're not going to dignify this book with comment?
Well, Adam, I'm an old hand, and if I had to predict how Downing Street was going to react to this book, that is exactly what I would expect them to say, and if I were them, that's how I'd react too.
Isabel Oakeshott, thank you very much.
Right, thank you.